Hello, I'm Matt Adams. Welcome to GolfNow series of discussions with golf industry professionals working on the front lines of golf course management and operations. With me today, Andy Gaudette, Vice President of Century Golf Partners, Dave Wasenda, President of Applied Golf Course Management, and with GolfNow, Mike Hendricks and Ben Schmidt. So from a point-of-sale perspective, does a lack of reporting options keep you from having a deep understanding of facility performance specific to rounds and revenue? Let's ask the operators and start with you, Andy.
You know, yeah, they've been very limited in the reporting, and because of that, we've structured our own reports to break it down to the level, you know, the minute level that we need to evaluate our activity and our pricing. You know, so we have not allowed a point of sale system to get in our way because we think it is that important. You have to know what's on your tee sheet in order to grow your tee sheet.
David, know thyself. Information is so critically important. Were you getting what you needed?
I don't think so. I think it's evolved certainly in the last 5 years. It's gone leaps and bounds from just a statistical standpoint and a database standpoint, growing your database with your customers. So we look at it as a macro and a micro. We do macro reporting that's outside of the point of sale, that alerts our operators of trends that they're having within a 7-day period, and are able to react to those trends very quickly. And then we do our micro reporting, which is a whole bunch of different analyzation of time, customers, rates, what days of the week, and we take that information and are constantly just churning it up and trying to figure out better ways to price and to eventually grow revenue.
So the next question begs is, where has the industry missed the mark on telling the story of profits and loss in terms of rounds and revenue, as well as the story of utilization lens of the same? Let's turn to our GolfNow experts. Mike, you want to jump in?
Well, I believe that we've probably missed in terms of breaking down tee sheets, or in this case we're talking about reports, breaking them down at the hourly or day part level. I think all too often we've found ourselves in a place where we talk about, you know, our average rate for the day, or how many rounds did we sell for the day, and certainly those matter, but I have a lot of respect for what Andy said, where he said, I'm not going to let my tee sheet or my point of sale keep me from being great, right? And so you guys went and you created your own reporting, and I would really applaud that. I just would love to see us get to a place where that was standard. And so I'm sure you guys have created some really intelligent reports, and almost to the point where they're proprietary, right? Like, hey, this is what we do and this is what we value. And I think that's great. I just would love to see the entire industry get there, because at the end of the day, if I can help somebody in Dallas or somebody in San Francisco or somebody in Miami understand their business better, I want to be a part of that. I want to help.
I mean, at the end of the day, as you just said, rounds and revenue is the lifeblood of a golf facility. How can you help them, Ben?
Yeah, I second Mike. You know, based on what Andy has said, as a technology provider, then it just becomes about providing these guys with tools that they can then use and manipulate how they need to. To insert flexibility into technology is not always easy, but that's something that we look to do every day, so that technology is not a barrier. I mean, ultimately, we want to help make your lives easier, and that you can accomplish things faster. So that's what it's all about for us as a technology provider.
I'm happy to share a couple of the different little things that we do. So some things that we've developed over the last few years. We've become really interested in understanding the performance of the individual interval. And what I mean by that is, you know, I want to know, how does Tuesday at 8 a.m. perform over the last 6 months? That's typically not something that we've seen in point-of-sale machines or systems within the golf industry. But I do think there's a lot of value in looking at it in that detailed way, right? So we're also really interested as a company in the performance of the top of the hour tee time and the bottom of the hour. What I mean by that is, there's a difference between 9 a.m. and 9:03. Or 9:30 and 9:34, right? And so to understand it at that level and that detail, and understand, frankly, that maybe I can do some things with 9:30 that I can't do with 9:34, That's how we can provide a little extra value to the golf course operator, and would love to see more and more point of sales get there and support those kinds of ideas and help people like Andy and Dave dig deep on the data.
Because I think what you see is also too is you see that over the years certain point of sale systems specialized in one area.
Yes.
You know, and they were very strong in inventory management. They were very strong in statistical management. They were very strong in this or that. But there was never one system that put it all together. You know, and you had to basically pick and choose your battles when you were choosing a point of sale system. I think the system that's being developed now and being used is getting to that point.
Well, David, how much, in specifically to rounds and revenue, how much of an impact does it, and the bottom line is the bottom line, right? How much of an impact did it have on the money that was made?
Sure. I mean, our revenue's up. You know, we use these tools to, you know, maybe not as detailed as the 930 versus 933. I think that would be, we'd probably have too much to do at that point, you know, to look at that. But all of those areas really help us fine tune it. I think that's really what it is. It's fine tuning your detail of every day that you're putting out pricing and coming up with strategies. You're able to look at it much finer than you used to 5 years ago, which was just throwing a dart at a board.
One of the things that we've used it for years, and the understanding of every hour, is events. You know, you get a small event that comes and they've got a limited budget. You know what time of day you can place it in to make it still be a success for the club and not turn away your revenue and give the value to the customer that's looking for it.
When you have a management company such as yours that has many courses, and naturally they're going to be spread out over a larger geographic area, do you also find nuances of differences from one region to another region that programs such as these will illustrate?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, it's all based on, you know, if you're in a Southern California market, you're extremely busy, you're going to play a lot of rounds of golf. You don't need to be as creative as you might be in a Florida market or a Northeast market. You know, you've got shoulder seasons in the Northeast market where you're going to have to be very creative.
How much of all this, Mike, I'm curious, is about educating operators as well?
It's a huge piece of it, and it's really something that never ends, right? And you have to be committed to it. There's certainly different organizations out there that work on education, but ultimately that's where the whole thing pays off, right?
Yeah.
Is do you have enough time to invest in education? Have you figured out a way to connect with the operator or the client on their terms, right? It can't feel like a dictation. It's got to be a conversation, and when you start to crack that nut, like again, more people win there, and so I think education is very, very important.
Well, let's pick up on that for a second, Ben, because we're not talking about GolfNow only delivering these are the best options. I have to assume that before you even develop this technology, the needs are coming upstream. They're coming from your customers.
They are. They absolutely are. And again, it really comes back to providing the flexibility into the technology such that these guys can use it to give them the data that they're looking for. One of the unique seats that I have is having working with a lot of the management companies is getting to see the different nuances of reports that is valuable given each person's strategy. And so that's been a unique position to be in, and in some without sharing secret sauce, right? That's very important, but there is instances where it's fun to be able to say, have you considered looking at it like this or from this perspective?
Fascinating stuff. And it sounds like it's an ongoing process.
Never ending, for sure.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It really is a fascinating discussion, and I would think this discussion of all the ones that we have had, absolutely critical. You're talking about rounds and revenue and how critical it is to understand the importance of the same and utilizing that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. And thank you to all of you for joining us.